I've been looking forward to this ever since James asked me about it a few weeks ago. And what we do in here, we all have skills, we all have education, we all have a track record, and we have the things that we have proven. But it's all about relationships. And I think a key component of what we're trying to do here today is develop a relationship even deeper with the Department of Commerce overall, but especially with the leader, that is very new to his role. I think he was appointed on June 17th of last year, and kind of took over the helm. I'm not sure a little while later. So it hadn't been a long time, but you've seen a lot and done a lot. And we're just going to have some questions, and we're going to open the floor for some questions. Just again, to try to get to know each other. The best way to have relationships is know each other. And I think I appreciate you being here. I know you got a very, very busy schedule, but in this room, you got the people that are making things happen.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about already workflow, workforce and issues and those type things. So we want to talk about all those things today, but I want to focus on Secretary Lightsey, and his bio is in the brochure in the book. And but before we get started, and he doesn't even know I'm going to do this, but just tell us, just spend a couple minutes, just tell us who you are. Just from the heart, who you are and why you're sitting at this table here, desk here today with the many opportunities and things you've done and the success you've had.
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to be here. It's good to see so many of you are still here for the pre-lunch session. It's always amazing to me to have folks stick around, so thank y'all for that. Great program this morning. I will tell you, I heard a lot of themes out of both the presenters that are probably going to resurface again and again, so commend you guys on the program. Great speakers. I'll try to live up to being half as relevant and entertaining as they were. So about me, one of the things that you will find that we're working on very hard is frankly, I'm all about teams and being part of a team. I have been involved in athletics since I was 8 years old, all the way through college, played football a little bit, and then not at Clemson, but a much lesser.
I didn't either. I was just a kicker. Let's get that straight. I wasn't a real football player, y'all. Just a kicker.
Okay, I'll take that. I think a kicker at Clemson qualifies as a higher degree of athlete than where I was. But anyway, and then even into law school. But I was reminded I used to really frustrate my swim coach back when I was a kid because my split times on the relay races were always faster than my times in the individual races. And I really have found over the years that I perform better when I feel like I am part of a team. And that is truly what I want to develop at the Department of Commerce, a real team spirit, and throughout the whole community. With you guys in particular, you are our community, and I look forward to working with y'all and I think really being part of your team. So that's one thing about me.
I appreciate that very much. And speaking of teams, most people in here know that our offices are one floor apart. And we spend a lot of time in each other's offices, and I feel like from outside looking in, and James can expand on it, but we're on the same team. It's unbelievable, the camaraderie and the partnership that our team and the Department of Commerce teams. And James, you take just a minute to expand on that while we're talking about what kind of on a daily basis, how y'all interact with each other and the importance of that.
Well, am I on? When Ford was there, we had to invoice Commerce for the amount of coffee he was drinking, but it's gone down a little bit since then. But I'd say almost on a daily basis, we got somebody from your team that's up there meeting with us, and with the amount of activity we have right now, it's a pretty frequent basis that we've got Daniel up there talking. So I did want to say this. Rather than him standing up here and doing the lectern thing, we threw this idea out. He's like, yeah, I'd rather do that. Yeah. Just a comfortable conversation. So you guys are a part of the conversation. Make sure and chime in. But I would tell you, there's a reason that all the allies are in our building. You know, you got engineering firms, the railroads, you got law offices that are either in our building or adjoining our building, the Alliance. Y'all are so much a part of what we do.
Good.
And there's a reason we all need to be there.
Awesome. And again, thank you for making your people accessible and easily accessible, and again, recognizing we're on the same team. So, got a few questions, and just share from your heart and just elaborate as deeply as you want to, and we'll just lay it on you. But first of all, what have you loved most about your role so far? Again, it's really been a short time period, but what do you love about how commerce, the role that they play in the growth of our state?
Yeah, so I want to kind of take that a little bit. We had our first leadership retreat in November, and what we came out of that with was a new mission statement and a new vision statement for the Department of Commerce. And frankly, we're going to try our best to hang everything that we do off of that mission statement and off of that vision statement. As much as we can reinforce our people that if they aren't doing something that can tie back to one of those, then they need to seriously question what they're spending their time doing. So, and we're proud of it. We're so proud of it. We put it on every door in the Department of Commerce. If you come up to the Department of Commerce, if you've been there in the past few weeks, and you wander around, you say, well, I can't, what are these two things that are on all the doors? And it's our mission statement and our vision statement, and our intent is really to live those. And I wrote it down just so I wouldn't miss any of the words. But our mission statement is to create economic opportunities to increase choices for all South Carolinians. And our vision statement is to embrace the future to ensure South Carolina's sustainable advantage. And, a lot of thought went into really crafting every word of that. And I think every word means something. I've heard a lot of these themes resurface in the talks we had earlier today. But, just in terms of where we are, and my predecessor, Bobby Hitt, I've heard him say this frequently, but we are very fortunate in that we work in an area where we make a visual and impactful impact on our communities. And, we can go around and we can see the cars in the parking lots of the businesses that have located in our communities. We can feel the positive impact that we've had on our communities. And if that doesn't get you up in the morning and excited about what you're doing and how and what where you're working, I can't imagine what could. So that is really what I have found is just incredibly excited about being in this space, is the opportunity we have to make our communities better places for all of our fellow citizens.
Awesome.
You mind if I ask a question? Real quick?
Sure. No, let me.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, I'm the
We didn't
moderator,
rehearse.
James.
We didn't rehearse.
I'm gonna fuss at you like you did. But, matter of fact, where is he?
Who's that? Oh, Andrew.
Here's Andrew. Just a sidebar. Andrew and I just happened. I love the rearview mirror, So I asked Andrew. I said, "How long have you been?" And he said, "Well, next week will be 15 years or something like 14 years, 14 or 15." He'll correct you one, James. He said, but the beauty of his job is he works all day long to help people. And that's what you just alluded to in a broad spectrum. Our job's here to help people. Amen. And the other part of that, let's go back to the mission vision statement. As a new captain in the chair, you have an opportunity to do that. But of those of you that run businesses, it used to kind of be in business about every 7 years, you need to really reinvent yourself. You need to open up the hood and dig deep and see what you want. I tell you, with the way business is changing, you better do that about every 2 or 3 years anymore. So if you hadn't considered that for your organization, hire somebody to come in and open the hood and open your heart and take a look at your organization and recreate yourselves. And if you don't do that, you're just going to be backing up instead of moving forward. So I'm glad to hear that you did that. And but don't rest on your laurels. And I know you won't.
We're just getting started.
That's exactly right. But anyhow, okay. James, you may
I was
ask
just
your
curious.
question.
When we were in the office the other day, we were talking about, you've gone all over the state. You've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people. In the time you've been in office, what is the biggest realization you've had about the role of the department and what they could be doing?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of realizations, and kind of hard to filter out the biggest ones. But the first thing I had, Nelson and I went to Munich for the EII International Auto Conference, and we met with a lot of businesses there. We met with a lot of people from all over Europe, really from all over the world. And one of the things that really struck me there, kind of an aha moment, was the reputation we have in South Carolina of being able to deliver on our commitments. That we are, our governor says we're a handshake state. But I will tell you, all over the world, one thing people know about South Carolina is that if we make a commitment, we will come together, we will work together to meet that commitment. And I think, you guys are a great part of that. You're a very big partner in really doing some extraordinary things. And I will tell you, the competitive world that we're in, I was always taught in business that you want to emphasize your competitive advantages that are hard to duplicate and de-emphasize those ones that are easy to duplicate. And having a reputation like that is, I think, like gold. It is hard earned. And we stand on the shoulders of everybody that went in front of us to earn that reputation. It is an incredible asset to have, and I think that's just invaluable. The second thing, just to kind of build on that, is frankly, the people of our state, I think are an incredible asset. When you go around and you talk to businesses that have chosen to locate in our state, the one thing that you hear over and over again is, I am so glad I'm in South Carolina because my people, the people that work in my business and support my business, are the best. And I've heard that from global companies that look at the workforce they have in South Carolina and compare that to other locations all around the world. I've just heard that from every quarter. And what the South Carolinians accomplished over the last 2 years of the pandemic, to be able to be rolling, hopefully, out of this pandemic with our economy growing at the clip it is, to have the amount of economic activity we have ongoing is a true accomplishment. So I think that is definitely a big thing that I've come truly to appreciate. And I think the third thing, just to kind of wrap it up, is what an incredible moment we're here in. This is just unprecedented on so many levels. But if you think about what is changing in the business world, we heard a lot of that today, and the pace of change and the transformational change that's occurring in so many business sectors and so many businesses is going to really revolutionize everything. And then you think about our state and the tremendous amount of money that, frankly, policymakers have to deal with to make investments for the future, and how all of that is kind of coming together and is creating this incredible moment where, I think that what we have this opportunity, what we do, today and tomorrow for the next few years, I think has the chance to make an impact on our state for decades and decades to come. So I think this is truly historic, and I really look forward to working with y'all to seize that opportunity.
Good. Well, in that vein, it's so much on the horizon. The projects are so big. We're maybe running out of real estate, product, those type things, but kind of leading into what's your biggest concerns? And again, you need to understand your concerns to address them as well, but what's your biggest concerns?
Well, the biggest concern, I think, and we already heard a presentation on it, and what I've heard from all of our businesses, what I hear from every project that's looking at our state, number one question, where is my workforce? Where are my people going to come from to help me grow and make my business thrive? And and are they going to have the right skill sets that I need, not just for today, but for tomorrow. So I think that is really my biggest concern, and a lot of what we heard earlier, working with our folks in our schools at every level, K through 12, tech schools, and so many things. A lot of what I heard resonated with me. We have done, I think, a really good job in South Carolina of exporting cars. We're the #1 leading state in the country in exporting finished cars, tires, ball bearings. We've also done a really, really good job of exporting our talent. And we need to really work hard on keeping our talent here in the state for the future. I think we have some incredible opportunities to do that, but I think that is a huge challenge.
Right.
We got to start looking younger too. That's the other thing. That's what I think makes us excited. Our board excited about this gamification.
Can you kind of expand on that just a little bit, James? Because
I'm not the expert on it. I'm not a gamer.
very few people understand what we've committed to do and how it's going to impact.
Satina, I can't pronounce the last name. She's out of Greenville. Has created this legit game for the life sciences, and it introduces kids to that sector. It teaches them soft skills, and they'll be deploying it across the state. And so she approached us some time ago about being a partner. So with SE Bio, Nephron, us, and there's another, Vicor maybe, I think is the other major funding partner. We're going to be able to play a significant role in that. But it's, when we're overseas, you go and you visit with people, and their workforce programs don't start in high school. They start in middle school. In some cases, they start in elementary school. We've got to expose kids at a much younger age to these other sectors that don't require a 4-year degree. Another question for you. What would you most like to accomplish in your tenure?
Yeah, so let me I'll take that, and I'll tackle it 2 different ways. So first of all, I think just in terms of the long term, when I walk out the door, hopefully I will leave the state and our department well positioned for the future. I think that is a big part of my responsibility, is to prepare our department and our state to embrace this future of change, accelerating change, and all of the things that have been discussed earlier today. In the short term, I wanted to let you guys know some of the things that we are working on kind of in the next year. Some of the big chunk things we're doing. First of all, just to let you know, our budget that we submitted is now through the House, and will be in front of the Senate in the coming months, and hopefully onto the governor's desk. But one of the items that we put in our budget, this a little bit different. It is a little bit unique, is what we're calling our strategic economic development infrastructure. And frankly, and I get asked a lot, well, what is that? And frankly, the answer is I don't really know. But conceptually, the idea is for us to be able to make investments that position us for the future, not tied to a project, not tied to creating a specific number of jobs or anything like that, but something that positions us for future economic growth. And it could be in areas like product. We hear a lot about the need for product around the state. Helping to develop that. It could be doing things like, and one of the examples I've used is the Google submarine fiber that they've announced that they intend to bring onshore at Myrtle Beach, helping create a landing facility for that fiber, and then hopefully using that to attract additional cables into Myrtle Beach and create an internet hub that could then be used to create jobs. Those kind of things, I think, are things that we want to think about and think hard about, and hopefully invest wisely for the future. So that's one thing we're doing. We have undertaken, we've hired a consultant to help us study all the incentives that are being used in other states around the country. Our incentive structure has been largely in place for a good many years, even decades. It's really geared toward heavy industry, manufacturing, producing large numbers of jobs, keys all the incentives. And I think we can be very competitive for other types of businesses, businesses that maybe don't produce large numbers of jobs, that maybe aren't as capital intensive, but they're good jobs and higher paying jobs and higher quality jobs. I know that other states use incentives to attract those kind of jobs. I want to look and see what we can put in our toolbox to be more competitive in that area. So we're looking really hard at our incentive structure, and we're going to hopefully start making some recommendations to policymakers in the fall. So I would appreciate any help anybody can give me if y'all are aware. You hear about something that another state is doing. If a project says, you know, I'm hearing from state X and they're offering me this, you know, let us know. We'd be interested in hearing about that. If you have ideas about incentives that we could use, and it doesn't necessarily have to be tax incentives or anything, it could be workforce related, for example. So, you know, that's an area that we're going to be active in. And we're also going to rebrand. South Carolina's economic development brand for the past 11 years has been, you know, South Carolina Just Right. And it's a good brand. It's served us well. 11 years is a good run for a brand. We're going to take a look at what we can do to rebrand, maybe spiff it up a little bit, give us the opportunity to relaunch and tell our story around the country and around the world. So we're going to be doing that. And then finally, some of y'all may have heard, in the last couple of weeks, we announced that we reorganized the department. We have shifted some things around. It's not a downsizing exercise. It's not a cost-cutting exercise. Nobody's salaries are being changed. Nobody's jobs are being changed. No jobs are being cut or any of that. But what we tried to do is align different groups in the organization that are working in areas that are closely aligned together under the same management structure. And we've also tried to streamline the management structure a little bit so that we have, you know, frankly, a management structure at the top that is more centralized and hopefully will be nimbler and better to react. So, you know, that is another initiative that we just recently did.
Smart move getting rid of Nelson. That was
Well, that had to be done first.
great. Yeah, I cut the dead weight at the top.
Watch out now.
I think Nelson has a question.
You're on mute.
Mute him out.
I will say, you know, when you came into office, when your secretary comes in anywhere, they always wonder, are we still going to be competitive? We're still going to be in the game. For those of you that are working deals with the secretary right now, we are in the game. The Department of Commerce is still very, very much in the game. So,
Well, one of the things I will tell you, you know, coming from kind of coming out of the team thing is I really like to win. I really, really like to win. So
Heard that.
That's
We're golf partners today, later on today. So about the 14th hole, I'm gonna question your integrity there. So, when you hit it in the water, I'm just kidding. Let's focus a little bit on the audience. You have a lot of local economic development people here that are taking care of their local communities. What advice can you give them that they can do back home that would help this help? Again, rising tide rises all ships.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I mean, our local communities are great. And I mean, South Carolina has been a state for a long time so many of our communities have such a rich history and background and such a great, amazing story to tell. You know, I really believe that economic development starts at the local community level. What is done at the local community is really what it's all about. And if any business is looking to locate here from anywhere outside the state, around the country, they're going to look at that community and they're going to say, you know, is this a place where I can see myself being part of this community? This is where my workers are going to come from. This is what is really going to be the basis for any success I have in business. So, frankly, it all starts with you guys, and we look to be your partner. We want the state of South Carolina Commerce to line up behind you as your partner. So, you know, communicate with us. Let us know what's going on in your community. If there are businesses that are thinking about expanding, let us know so that we can be of service to that. If there are businesses that are looking for workforce, let us know so that we can support those initiatives. And so that, you know, that's my thought is work with us. We want to be on your team, and we really look forward to that.
Can I chime in?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I'm a recovering local economic developer. And so two things come to mind. In the communities that I've served, you know, people don't look, in our own community, we don't look at ourselves the way other people see us. And typically, we see ourselves in worse light than people from the outside look in. And building your brand internally in your community to get your community people to be champions of the place that they live. Durham, North Carolina, if you'll hashtag DURM, Durham, they drink the Kool-Aid, and it's turned into just a place you didn't want to be into a place where everybody wants to go. It's vibrant. The second thing is invest in yourselves in your communities. This Site Readiness Fund, their site fund, you know, I had a governor tell our leadership years ago when I was in Tennessee, if you guys will invest in yourselves, I'll invest with you. And they made that commitment. Now they're winning. So, you know, if you're having trouble convincing community leaders to make the investment in site development, you can't just, it's not enough, especially today, it's not enough to just have an option on the site. If the infrastructure's not there, if the site isn't clear, grubbed and graded, if there, in some cases, if there's not a pad, you're out of business. If you hadn't done all the due diligence, all that stuff needs to be taken care of. If not, you're not going to win. I'm telling you, you are not going to win. But if you get your leadership to step up, and we will come and advocate with you, for you, but we will put dollars on the table. They've evidenced they will put dollars on the table. But with the amount of sites that we're losing because we're winning, those sites are off the table. We're running out of inventory. And we need your help desperately.
yeah, that's totally true.
Yep. Let's turn the page to politics just a second. In our state, we, as utilities, we have great relationships with our elected officials, and we pride ourselves with that. And the main reason is we tell them the truth. Sometimes the truth is not what they want to hear, but we're always honest and upfront about telling the truth. You have out here a lot of, I'm just going to call you lobbyists, so to speak. What message should these local economic developers have, or what conversations should they have to help the cause as far as in the local areas? I mean, what the legislative agenda, y'all have it said, I don't want to get into any of that, but what can we do to make sure that we're all speaking kind of the same language to help us politically, because at the end of the day, it's political.
Well, all politics is local, and you guys are a huge asset. So one thing I do know is when you go speak to a policymaker in their home, in their backyard, it's a whole different conversation than when you're speaking to them in the state capitol. If you have any questions about what you should be talking to your policymakers about, what they can do to help you in their community, you know, most policymakers, that's what they thrive on, is making a difference in their community. That's, you know, frankly, I wouldn't I wouldn't run for political office these days. It is a grueling thing to put you and your family through, and so these are dedicated folks, and they're there to make a difference, and they're there to make things better, and so they need to hear from their local communities about what they can do to make things better, and where that lines up with our objectives, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. But I encourage all those conversations to occur.
Something that happened, I guess it was last year, speaking of politics, was this whole issue about transparency. Do you mind touching on that a little bit and where we are?
So, if you guys haven't been following the news, I got a lot of questions in my confirmation hearing, my 3-hour-long confirmation hearing about transparency. Some of the policymakers felt like the department hadn't been fully transparent with them or with the public in some of the projects that we had brought into the state. And a lot of what we do is, crowded in secrecy. We have project names, we talk in mysterious terms, those kind of things. To the outside, that appears as though we are, protecting something, trying to keep secrets. A lot of that is for a good reason. We have to be competitive. We can't let our competitor states know what projects we're working on, what sites we're offering up to them, what kind of packages we're putting together. That would really compromise our ability to be a successful competitor. So, that's really important. We have to preserve that. A lot of the projects, when they're looking at us and when they're talking to us, they're giving us information about their business that is very confidential and is their competitive advantage, their trade secrets. And we have to protect that too. If we got a reputation for disclosing secret business information, that would not be good for us, our ability to keep our businesses here and attract businesses into our community. So, that outside of those two constructs, a lot of what we do deals with the public's money, and frankly, the public has every right to expect to know how their money is being invested, what we're doing with it. There was a lawsuit that was filed by a senator against the Department of Commerce, and with regard to some of the things that we were not disclosing in FOIA requests. And we were able to have some negotiations with that senator, and we settled the lawsuit. Some of the things we agreed to do, frankly, we were already doing, or we were in the process of implementing. We agreed to do some new things. We agreed the specifics of all of that. I would encourage you to talk to Karen Manning, our lawyer, if you have any questions about it, or if you have specific questions, I'll try to be responsive to it. The other thing we did that has really been an incredible asset to the department is we hired a legislative liaison. Mark Hendrick is our interface to government, and that's kind of writ large to the legislature, to other state agencies, to the folks up in Washington, D.C. We had not had that position filled for a long time in the department. And I just felt it was very critical that we open up lines of communication with the folks across the street, and that we begin to proactively communicate with them about what we're doing at Commerce, which is really a good news story. So being attacked in the press is very difficult to deal with when you're feeling that what you're doing is really a good news story. So Mark is a great asset, and he is really working hard and communicating the good news of what we're doing across the street, and I think that's going to pay tremendous dividends.
That was a smart strategic move. I got Matt Poor sitting in the audience. He works at Mid Carolina. He's the relationship between us and the General Assembly, and it's incredible. It's a full-time job, even though Matt's got 10 other jobs, and that's how co-ops are. But we recognize the importance of that. That was a good strategic move to fill that job and get it moving.
Well, after getting 3 hours of questions about what the department did, I figured I needed to have somebody else over there telling the story. So.
Exactly.
So he touched on the political agenda. Is there anything being proposed this year that would be important to this group and that they might be able to help behind the scenes with some of the legislators?
Well, the key thing is the budget for this year. This strategic economic development infrastructure, because it's not tied to incentives or an incentive package or a project, it's a little bit of a difficult concept. But as I said, it could speak to getting product ready or other infrastructure that we need in order to have a platform to be successful in the future. I would appreciate it if you guys would talk to your folks about that and say that it is, something that we need that will help your communities, it will give your communities opportunities to apply for those funds and hopefully leverage community assets and create new assets for y'all. So that would be.
How much is in the fund? How much?
Well, so it's interesting the way we put the fund together. It's basically going to be about $80 million that's not spoken for already. There are some items in there that are already spoken for that are frankly kind of in the category of commitments made in the past that are now coming due. There's a good chunk of that money that is really uncommitted and that we hope to really leverage for the future.
Could it go towards broadband?
Potentially, but broadband is going to get a huge separate funding on its own. And Jim Stritzinger has a plan, has a really solid plan. He has detailed maps available through his website. He just spoke at the Rural Economic Summit and kind of outlined the resources he's got available on his website. It is truly impressive. I will tell you, one of the consulting jobs I had before I took this job was working with the state of California on broadband deployment, and they would kill to have the kind of maps that Jim has of our state, down to the local level. You can drill down into his maps, right into your specific communities, your county, however you want to do it, and see kind of where we are in terms of broadband. And he's got a real good plan in terms of how to address that on a statewide basis. But if there is something in particular that we could do that would address a specific need kind of outside of what Jim is doing, or if we can use some of that money to leverage what Jim is doing, that's certainly a possibility.
I'm looking at our broadband champion right there.
Yeah, we created an internet cooperative back in 2016, and it's been super successful. Matter of fact, a couple of projects have landed out in rural areas, and their greatest need was to have fiber-based broadband. So the cooperatives are fully engaged in that, and we're trying to stand in the gap for the folks out there. So we know Jim very well, and we noticed right away that the maps were the weakest link of all, and the FCC and the way it all worked, and census blocks, and we don't need to get into all that. That's a whole nother segment of conversation. But we can't live without it. We got folks that college students coming home for Christmas break. They won't come home because they don't have broadband. We got grandkids won't see grandmoms because they can't have their devices. I mean, it's at every level out there. But again, that's another sideband conversation. But electric co-ops in South Carolina have engaged and doing a great job filling in the gap. We're very proud of that.
Absolutely.
And from speaking of electric co-ops, which kind of leads into another ask. We're all about our local communities. We were formed in the 1930s and 40s about our local community. Our mission has never changed. So we're there. So what can we do, and what else can we do from an electric cooperative perspective to fulfill the mission that you have envisioned you have in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. I will first say that you guys are an incredible asset to the state. And you think about, the history going back, to the 1930s and the enactment of the REA and what that has led to in your communities. One of the PowerPoints I saw that was presented at the Rural Summit was an ad for electrification, and from the 1940s, and just how impactful that was to people's lives. If you think about trying to live without electricity, and today, the co-ops, y'all are not only the electric backbone, but broadband and so many other areas in your community. So what an incredible asset you guys are. And so I would just say, work with us. Let us be on your team. We're there for you. There are hopefully some things we can do to support what you guys are doing, and look forward to working with y'all.
The power portion of economic development is getting more and more complicated. We have large projects, and now most folks come in and they want real-time renewable energy. Of course, in our state, the only renewable energy we have is solar, and it's hard to get real-time solar at 10 o'clock at night. So we're doing a deep dive and trying to figure out how to fulfill that, and we're not going to stop. We're going to make it happen, and we want to make sure that availability of power is not going to impede progress in South Carolina. And Santee Cooper has been a great partner. Duke has been a great partner. It takes us all being on the same team to make this happen, because this is getting very complex. And as y'all see, the projects coming along now are just ginormous. Huge needs from a power perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's our governor actually was recently appointed as the chairman of Southern States Energy Initiative, I guess, and so we've been talking to the governor's office about that and what that may mean and how that could help our state. It is a huge part of the equation. We're seeing more and more RFIs, and we're hearing from more prospects. We're hearing from businesses in our state, not big businesses like BMW, Volvo, but it goes all the way down through their supply chain. It goes, but more than that, businesses, even startups, want to be able to say that they are green. They want to be able to say that they're, got their carbon footprint as close to zero as they possibly can. Green energy is a big deal, and we could be very well situated to take part in that. Duke Energy, who is one of your partners, has been very progressive in that area. So I commend their initiatives. It is a big lift. You guys with power, y'all have to be thinking kind of like decades ahead.
Absolutely.
And so for these businesses to come in and say, well, I need all my power to be renewable now, is a big lift, and I get that. So I really look forward to working with y'all on that to find out, what are the right initiatives, what are the right investments we can make to make progress in those areas.
Well, it's definitely going to take us all working together, no question. It's a very complex future in the power industry from a renewable perspective.
It really is, and I've talked to some of the folks in the power industry, and we're getting to, well, everybody's retiring their coal plants, and we're going to natural gas, and that's really decreased our carbon footprint tremendously, and that's great. But then you go talk to the businesses, and but natural gas is a fossil fuel, and so that's that's not exactly what I need right now, and it is really a tough issue.
Right, but we have to have spinning generators somewhere.
Absolutely.
When the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing.
They want their green energy, but I think they want their energy more than the green part.
Right.
When you boil it right down to it.
Yeah.
Are there questions from the audience? Anyone else? The secretary? Don't point at
There's
Marty.
a hand back.
Don't point
Please
at
come to a
Marty.
microphone, because we're trying to.
Yeah. Now I've heard from too many of y'all that y'all were really working on some tough questions. So.
But if you don't, I hate to make you guys walk up to the mic because we could probably hear you, but just because we're recording it.
Yep.
Come on, John.
Mr. Ferris, who's?
Mr. O'Toole.
Yeah, we got two. I didn't see him.
How are you, gentlemen? Thanks for your comments. With the previous speaker, she was talking about warm bodies, and getting warm bodies and remote workers. One thing we're doing with the Department of Defense grant here in Beaufort County is trying to stand up a cybersecurity sector. There are over 300,000 vacant jobs for cybersecurity currently. What we're finding is we're making trips up to the Northeast. People are looking for talent. We have about 2,000 exiting Marines that we stand a chance to keep in this county if we attract them. So I'm wondering if you're looking at, based on the previous speaker, any kind of incentives that can make it worth the while of that company to see South Carolina as a talent pool for that remote worker. And then the other part I have another company that would have 60 jobs. It would be a white collar operation, but it's 60 jobs that pay over $100,000, but we don't have an incentive program below 75.
That's, you're exactly right, and that's one of the holes in the donut that we're looking at is, that kind of company. Company's not going to create enough jobs or make enough CapEx to qualify for our current incentives. But what can we do? I mean, those are obviously great companies that we want to be able to bring into our communities, so and keep in our communities. And so we really want to study that and hopefully come up with some solutions for that. On the first part, two things. First of all, I've been talking to John Wall a good bit. John has been bending my ear to talk about what we can do to keep veterans in our state. Veterans have great skills, and they come with a discipline and a readiness to really fit into a business. And so, we're looking hard at what we can do, if there are things we can do programmatically in that area. I know our governor is very supportive of our veterans communities, and some of the things that are being talked about, in the legislature in terms of tax breaks for veterans and those kind of things will help. But we're always looking for more to keep our veterans here. People think of veterans as retirees, but the folks coming out of our bases are young folks that are looking for jobs, and we need to figure out ways to keep them in South Carolina. I think they could be a tremendous asset to us. Just in terms of cyber, cyber is one of those skill sets that is incredibly highly valued today. At General Motors, we started hiring folks that had cyber security skills well into the six figures. I mean, like 150 grand starting salaries, for the right skill sets. And it is, and every business is going to need expertise in those. I don't care how big you are. So having those skill sets available is very important. A lot of that is coming out of the military. If you look at like Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, which is really a hotbed of talent for folks with cyber skills, a lot of that is military-based, NSA-based. We have facilities like Fort Gordon that is in Georgia, but also kind of straddles the border with South Carolina, which is a cybersecurity center for the military, and our other military bases as well. So, what can we do? One of the things we've thought about is the whole phenomenon of remote workers, and if there are things that we can do to keep remote workers or attract remote workers to our communities. We offer a great quality of life in South Carolina. I think people want to live in South Carolina. And, so if somebody lives in one of our communities, but their job is in California, that's not so bad. Their paycheck is in South Carolina. They pay taxes in South Carolina. They help they're part of our community. So, that's on our list of looking at things with what we could do with incentives on that front too.
Hey, John, have good internet though.
Hey, John, John. When I was in Tennessee, we were home to the 101st Airborne and 5th Group and some other special forces. one of the issues our out processing or retiring soldiers were having is that the certifications they get in the Army don't align with the certification process for the private sector. And how do we create a common language around the two? I don't know if you know this is an issue.
Yeah, James, towards that end, we, through the Department of Defense, we're forming, it's called the TAP app, the Transition Assistance, but it'll be an app that takes their military operations specialty and translates it into
Awesome.
a resume, and we can extend that to
That was
everyone
a
in
huge,
this
that's a
room.
huge hindrance to employment.
Yeah.
John, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
knew John
thank
would
you.
get up.
Yeah, and John has been instrumental in this process. It's something we've been working on for the past 4 or 5 years. But what we've done is we had, with the Secretary of Department of Defense, Secretary Grimsley, and obviously Secretary Lightsey. I was actually on a call today, this morning, with Secretary Grimsley and Elizabeth Kovacs and Kim Mann from Secretary Lightsey's team. There's a Charleston-based company called Tallow, and it's a matchmaking software. So I know I've talked to you about this, James, as well, and the great work you did in Tennessee. What it does, it allows a matchmaking process to be done beforehand between the job seeker and the employer. So you know you're an 87% match on your salary, your skills, your timeline, and that type of stuff before the actual event. So we did the first one in 2022 of this year. We did 2 last year during COVID, very successful. Did a March 8th event in Sumter and an in-person event March 9th, 45 employers, and had over 160 job seekers. Military spouses is a big piece to this because they're completely underemployed. Got high skills, but they're seen as transient. And it's been very successful. We have 3 more events planned. The next one is May 10th and 11th in the upstate and the Greenville-Spartanburg area. Next one's going to be September 14th and 15th in Charleston. And then the last one's going to be November 11th and 12th in the Aiken-Augusta area around Fort Gordon. So definitely working on it. It's exciting. It's a Charleston-based company. And if you want to get involved, happy to share more details.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Great
thank
to
you.
hear.
Great.
Sorry to make you stand for so
No,
long,
that's
Mark.
okay, that's fine. Thanks for being here, Harry. I appreciate it. It's a great conversation.
Thanks
You know,
for calling
just-
me Harry.
Just,
Please, all of y'all, please call me Harry. I don't. Secretary still. I'm still kind of looking around and saying, who are they talking to?
as a follow-up to some of that discussion, by the way, James, that's Tino's Walensky.
Yes.
ZWO.
Yes.
That's the name of the company. And it's ironic, well, you know, South Carolina's a great state. We make things really well, right? And commerce has played a big part of that. Everybody in the room has. We recruit well-oiled machines. We are a well-oiled machine at commerce, but we recruit well-oiled machines well. But in Tina's case, she's got a gamification program. Yeah. And ironically, we wouldn't be able to do much for her. So what role do you think that commerce could play in innovation, entrepreneurship going forward? Not that we certainly don't need value-added processing. I think the foreign-made PPE is the best example of how we were held hostage, and we need that. We need as much of that as we can get, I think. But we also need to think about innovation, entrepreneurship, and just wondered what you thought the future would be in commerce in that arena.
Yeah, so we've had for a few years a small group at Commerce that is focused on innovation and entrepreneurship. We are going to grow that group a bit. We think that's a very, very important part of economic growth that we can work with communities to help foster entrepreneurship within their communities. That's very exciting. They're going to move into the business services division because frankly, I believe that every business is going to have to reinvent itself in the next 5 to 10 years. Every business is going to need to start thinking of itself as entrepreneurial, as innovative, and I don't care what business you're in, it is going to be changed in some way that you don't expect. So frankly, we're going to try to expand that skill set through our whole department. So I think it is a very important part. I think South Carolina, because Our communities are great places to live, and people want to live in our state. We're the 10th fastest growing state in the country in the last decade. So being able to tell our story, I think, is a big part of that. But also we're, the incentive structure. Hopefully, we've started doing some things with entrepreneurship. We've created some assets. We have the Scribble program, and we've created this grant program that we have for entrepreneurial organizations. Hopefully, we can continue to grow ideas like that. It's an area where you can be very creative. So if communities have ideas, come to us and let us know. One of the things I do know is that I think for each community, it's going to be different. And this is not one of those cookie cutter deals where if you build an incubator, presto magic, you're going to have entrepreneurial companies show up. You have to build it from inside your community. You have to figure out who are your entrepreneurs, who are your future entrepreneurs, how are you going to foster them, and how are you going to hold their hands as they kind of create their businesses and go through their growth cycles. And I think that is really the crux of it. So we'll look forward to working with you on that.
Let me, one thing, Beryl Davis from Palmetto we had a conversation on the same exact thing that you guys are doing down here, and they've been super successful. So that's something we may share at a future event, and again, kind of plant the seed of success y'all have seen.
And keep in mind with it's hard not to say secretary, I'm sorry, it's a respect thing. What Harry said about the entrepreneurship pieces and communities' roles. Rob Fraser, who's speaking in the morning, is an entrepreneur. He was the guy with the crazy socks last night. But from the time that he started the company and all the stumbling blocks along the way, in spite of it, he's been successful. But put that hat on when he's speaking tomorrow, because I think you're going to hear a lot about what y'all could be doing, what we all could be doing to be a better supporter for founders of these companies. Oh, Kyle, come on.
Sorry, just hearing about the entrepreneurship and innovation and everything, could you just talk about Fraunhofer and how that interacts?
Yeah, so Fraunhofer is one of those stories that you hear about South Carolina that when you tell people about it, they were like, wow, I never realized. If you're from South Carolina, you'll hear, I would never realize we were doing that. If you're from somewhere else, so they'll say, I never realized South Carolina was doing something like that. But South Carolina is the only state in the country that has an organization that is recognized by the International Fraunhofer Sanctioning Organization. This is an endeavor that really brings together businesses and education resources. And so we have a board that selects what projects they're going to invest in, but any business can bring a project to the Fraunhofer board, submit it for consideration. It identifies and then targets resources that we have in our educational institutions with expertise to help solve business problems, I think is the easy, short way of saying it. And we work primarily with the research universities, but also with HBCUs and other higher ed institutions in the state. And we receive proposals from businesses about a specific problem they have, and we identify expertise that we have within our institutions that is within the area that they're looking for help, and then we fund that project, and it works on solving that issue. It's an incredible resource. It's a resource to our businesses. And so help us tell the story, let people know that that's around and available to them.
And Suzanne Dickerson is the exec for that. So for those of you that know her,
Thank
reach
you
out to
for
her.
bringing that, Kyle. I had no idea. I mean, I'm a dummy, but I didn't know that. I knew I'd learn something today.
We have a lot of Clemson folks.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, USC's only so big, man. Some of us got to go to the upstate.
All right, so last question. Out of all the speeches you've made, tell us something nobody's heard. What's the one thing?
Wow, well, I already told you about my swim team record. I don't know if I can go beyond that one. I just will tell you that it truly is an honor for me to be here in the position I'm in at the moment that we're in. And I really, really look forward to working with y'all.
Yeah. I want to thank you, one, for being a good sport about doing this.
Yeah.
But number two, you're present. You being at the event last night, a lot of people getting to meet you for the first time, that was a big deal for us, so we're very grateful.
Well, I look forward to meeting as many of you guys as I possibly can. So feel free to come on up if you got questions or if you got suggestions. That's great use of our time to be here together. So I'll be around. I'll be around all until the very end tomorrow. I told James he kind of unfairly set the program up so that the really good topics come at the end of the meeting. So I'll be here until 11:30 tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
And I really look forward to being with you guys and meeting more of you and having more discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harry.
Please help us thank him. Thank you.